The following is a presentation of TFNN. The Morning Market Kickoff with your host, Tommy O'Brien. Now, Tommy O'Brien.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Tommy O'Brien, coming to you live from TFNN just after 9 a.m. Eastern Time. It's Fed Day. We get a decision at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. We got a press conference to follow at 2:30. All but assured, the market thinks that we're getting a hike of about 25 basis points. Going to be interesting to see what they say in the statement, what Chairman Powell has to say at 2:30. We find out today. Right now, market's a little bit negative, but all things considered. Jump into the S&P futures right now, just off of the highs. Last night, you make a run to 46.05. We're trading right now at 45.85, off by 10 points in the S&Ps. NASDAQ 100, we're off by 50. That's about 0.33%. The Dow, off by 100 right now. That's about 0.3% as well. And the Russell, off by 2 this morning. We jumped to commodities. Crude, as I mentioned, almost made it to $80, within 10 pennies of 80 yesterday. We're trading right now just under that number, off 86 pennies at 78.77. All things considered, it's been quite a run for crude, pushing that $80 price mark. We're going to talk to our man Kevin Hinks after the first break. We talked to Kevin at 9:15. We're going to talk to our man Teddy Kegstad at 40 past the hour. We'll talk a little bit of Forex in that segment. We'll talk some commodities. We always talk a little bit of crude. We talk some yields, always interesting on Fed Day as well. We jump over to gold. Gold up $8. There's your long-term chart on gold. We back things up to the 10-minute. And yeah, we trade higher from about 2 in the morning. We pulled back in the last few minutes, but gold up about $8 right now. You jump to notes and bonds on Fed Day. A little bit of higher price, lower yield off the lows of yesterday. We're up by 10 ticks in the 10-year at 111.29. The 30-year is up 21 ticks, catching a little bit of a pop right now. You jump over to the dollar index. Backing off from yesterday's highs. 101.22. So we're pairing yields a little bit. We got a little bit of a weaker dollar. We have markets pairing some of the gains that we got as well, off by about 11 points. And we got a couple equities with their numbers. Let's jump over to them. Microsoft trading down by about $10 right now, from $350 to $340. You had Visa with their numbers last night. Pretty strong numbers, but you're seeing the case of decelerating growth, right? At least on Visa's front. Visa trading from $238. We're trading right now at about $237 for Visa. We jump over to Google. Google with strong numbers on the advertising front, trading up from $122.79 to $130. We'll jump into all of those later in the program a little bit more, but let's talk a little bit of Fed to kick off the program. Chairman Powell, interesting article from Bloomberg out here early this morning. The headline, Powell has stopped handing gifts to Wall Street on Fed Day. The key was to buy stocks, bonds just before Powell began to speak. Remember how many times we had reversals, whether it was at 2:30? Market moves have faded as the Fed's tightening cycle nears an end. And just interesting when you take a look graphically, okay, what this is talking about up top here, you have March of 2022 when they began their hiking cycle to February of 2023. Well, you could say part of the conversation started shifting to when they were going to pause, if not stop, their hikes. 2 to 2:30 on Fed Day, you were down, as in after they came out. But once Powell started talking, man, this is going back last year, okay? In that hour he was talking, the market was up 0.75% almost. Remarkable moves for an hour period, right? Over the period of a full year. You could have done that for the entire year, every time Powell had a presser, and you were up on average 0.7%. But guess what, man? Since March, you're negative across the board, man. You're negative when the report comes out, barely, but you're also negative when Chairman Powell speaks as well. It seems like maybe the lead up, right? The anticipation is already there, man. Very difficult for Chairman Powell to deliver some positive news when, just for some context, folks, this is what the market looks like since March. From 38.50 to 45.86, remarkable run that we've been on in those S&Ps. And so, yeah, we get a press conference at 2 o'clock. We get an announcement at 2 o'clock, press conference at 2:30. I'll get it out. Yeah, and you talk about yields in here, of course. But nonetheless, things have changed, folks. We're coming into probably the last hike. We get to find out, how does Chairman Powell spin that? We've been saying no matter what he says, okay, if they hike right now, if we have core inflation at 4.8%, which we do as of the last CPI, and we get 2 months of data coming down the line before we get the September meeting, we're going to be pretty data dependent on those numbers. Core CPI, 4.8%. We need to see some improvements, okay? Yeah, maybe they could argue a pause no matter what in September, depending on how things go, but we get 2 full months of data. They're going to give themselves some room, and yeah, we will see where they go from there. All right, jumping around, what else we got? UPS, they got a deal. I was listening to one of my distant cousins, I'm sure, Sean O'Brien from Boston, the local 25. Yeah, as he's head of the Teamsters. He was on Bloomberg earlier, and they're coming after Amazon next. That was the question, so they set him up for it. But it would make sense. They got a decent deal, man. UPS. So Amazon this morning, and I guess that's the case there, right? There's your acceleration. No, excuse me. You know what that's on? That's going to be on cloud probably. Yeah, that's on cloud. That's on Microsoft numbers, probably trading a little bit lower from 129.50 to 126.50. Probably not a good morning when you got the Teamsters president getting a deal with UPS that they're very proud of and saying that they're coming for Amazon next. Listening to them on Bloomberg this morning, he's saying, this is the framework. We're going to show Amazon workers this framework. We're going to show them what we can deliver. And yeah, we're going to try and deliver that and unionize Amazon employees. He didn't say that last part, but that's obviously the implied repercussions of that deal. And it's a big deal, man. And the way he went about it, the way he became Teamsters president, especially interested because you got an O'Brien from Boston, of course. I'm personally invested a bit. But yeah, he got it done, man. And they get it done. He says UPS blink, the Teamsters leader says, clearing the way for a labor deal. And yeah, they had till the end of the month on this one. And talks had fallen apart on July 5th. He got a call. They put it together. 340,000 union members. It's going to provide $30 billion in new money over a 5-year span. Seems like a lot of money over a 5-year span, but not when you consider how much they've been making, man. I think it was this one talking about, is it? Yeah. UPS earned $22 billion of adjusted net income in 2021 and 2022. I heard him throwing around $100 billion at some point. So yeah, $30 billion is a lot of money. Just getting that number. Yeah, $30 billion over a 5-year span. They got more days off. With the interesting part of this, right? Lots of interesting parts of this, of course. Now, there was going to be a lot of pressure, man, because this was going to shut down the economy. I'm sure UPS did not want to be seen as shutting down the economy when they're making tens of billions of dollars in profit in back-to-back years. So there was pressure on them. O'Brien used that pressure with the members of his union. And what's so cool is that you had Hoffa, right? Hoffa's grandson, Hoffa, running the Teamsters in 2017, 2018. Okay, and we're going to jump into this later in the program, man, because it is cool. This is his Wikipedia page, all right? Local 25 in Boston. There you go. Grew up in a Teamsters family with his father, grandfather, and great-grandfather, all members of the local 25 in Boston, driving trucks. He's got 2 sons. You know what he named him? Sean Jr. Of course he did. He's an O'Brien from Boston. Up-and-coming stand-up comedian. And his youngest, Joseph, an accomplished athlete. He's got an athlete and a comedian, and they're O'Briens from Boston. There you go, man. We'll talk a little bit more about it, but they got a deal, man. And yeah, they're coming after Amazon next. It's Fed Day, folks. Stay tuned. We're coming back talking to our man Kevin Hinks from Fast Market TD Ameritrade Network. Stay tuned, folks. Be right back. If you're looking for potential trading setups in the stock market, then Rocket Equities and Options Report is a newsletter you should try. Tommy O'Brien delivers options and equity trades when the markets present them using a combination of fundamentals and technicals. Sign up for Rocket Equities and Options Report today with a 30-day money-back guarantee so you have nothing to risk. For all the details and to start your subscription today, visit the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors.
Everything in the universe is governed by the Fibonacci sequence. This mathematical principle is responsible for everything from the most aesthetically pleasing artwork to patterns in the stock market. To stay on top of stock patterns you can take advantage of, sign up for the Fibonacci 24/7 newsletter at TFNN.com. When you subscribe, you'll get a weekly report from veteran day trader Larry Pesavento on stocks you need to pay attention to. And you can trust Larry's analysis. After all, he's got 45 years experience as a day trader. Larry will also provide daily charts, videos, and data on the key markets that he's tracking. Expect notifications from Larry on market movement you need to act on at any time. First-time subscribers also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied, let us know and you'll get a full refund within 30 days of signing up. Subscribe to the Fibonacci 24/7 newsletter today. TFNN.com, educating investors.
Steve Rhodes started his trading career as a student almost 20 years ago, and the student has now become the master. Steve won the prestigious Timer of the Year award in 2018 and barely missed that mark again in 2019, finishing at number 2 for the year. An amazing accomplishment. Steve Rhodes is committed to sharing his techniques and knowledge with anyone who wants to learn, and he shares his vast amount of trading knowledge every day in his Mastering Probability newsletter. Steve's award-winning newsletter, Mastering Probability, is delivered every trading day with updates throughout the afternoon. Sign up for Steve's market newsletter, Mastering Probability, and you'll receive access to 7 of Steve's educational webinars absolutely free. At TFNN, all our newsletters come with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have absolutely nothing to worry about. Visit TFNN.com and try Mastering Probability 30 days risk-free today. TFNN, educating investors.
TFNN has launched the Tiger's Den. Hosted at Discord, TFNN has been educating traders for more than 20 years with live programming hosted by a variety of professional traders during market hours. The Tiger's Den, available to all tigers and tigresses for just $1 for the year. There's no catch or added costs when you join our community of traders. Sign up today and become a part of this educational community of traders. Just visit the front page of TFNN.com.
Welcome back, folks. We get S&P futures negative by about 12 points right now, trading at 45.84. That's about 0.2% in the red. It's Fed Day, folks. To talk about some of the action, let's jump over to our man, Kevin Hinks. Every trading day, Kevin and Tom White, Fast Market on the TD Ameritrade Network right here at 12 noon Eastern time, folks. We got an earnings bonanza this week, and we got Fed week on top of it with the decision coming at 2 p.m. Eastern time today, and let's talk about it. Kevin Hinks, good morning.
Good morning, Tommy O'Brien. Yeah, a lot going on. There's no reason to be bored on days like this, Tommy, because things are coming at you, fast and furious. So, yeah, we're going to deal with Microsoft and Google Alphabet and Snap and Visa, but there's no time to rest because you've got Meta and Chipotle coming out after the bell. You've got Royal Caribbean and McDonald's coming out our morning, Southwest and MasterCard. So earnings are coming. And, oh, by the way, we have a Fed announcement today at 1 o'clock, Chicago time, 2 o'clock Eastern. So that 2:30 press, the street is starting to think that maybe we're one and done. I'm sure Jerome Powell won't say that, but in the question and answer, he may reveal. And I think, Tommy, and here's what I just said on our network. This Friday morning, year-over-year core PCE, that the consensus is for it to go from 4.6 to 4.2. That will be a big deal if that happens. And the markets will really like that because that number has been stingy and plateauing and hasn't come down. So if it comes down 0.4 like the consensus is, the market will really like that.
It's a great summation, man. There's stuff everywhere going on in this market. I was taking a look at yields, Kevin, just in the discussion you're having, one and done. What do you think about yields right now in terms of where we are? Such an interesting conversation. They're probably going to raise. We're going to be pushing almost 5.5% on their rate, and we got the 10-year. We're pushing 3.85%, somewhere in there. When I pull up the chart on the Thinkorswim platform, pretty close to the lows, all things considered. We hit 108.26 on a price basis. Of course, we're a little bit higher. But are we near some peak rates, you think, Kevin? What do you think about yields and how that may impact the market? Do you try and have that conversation with yourself? Because I'm reading a lot of articles, of course, saying, this is possibly the end of the cycle. Then you look historically, right? And if you go historically, of course, you're going to have bonds trade higher. You're going to have yields trade lower. You have to peg if it's the end of the cycle. We're not going to know that until we go forward. But what do you think of yields right now as we come into this pretty historic Fed decision that might be the last one in a pretty historic hiking cycle?
Yeah, I mean, you have to look at where yields are in the yield curve, right? I mean, if inflation does start to come down and the yield curve starts to uninvert, frankly, if short-term rates start to come down and the 10-year stays around these levels, I mean, you could see some very bullish second half of the year. Now, a lot of thought that the first half of the year would be bumpy and the second half of the year is when the market would do extremely well. So many prognosticators and people looking at the markets expected a bumpy first half of the year and then a good second half. Well, that's dead wrong, as the market has absolutely for the first half of the year. But now what, right? Microsoft is down today. Why? Well, they think AI is a promise, right? It's not showing the numbers, and they've got slowing growth in Azure. They've got slowing growth in Windows, and so they're dealing with some slowing growth and a promise for the future in AI. I think the biggest theme now as we get to the second half of this week is digital ad spend. You're going to see it in Meta. It's very important. You're going, is Snap a cautionary tale for Meta? We'll see. Or is that winners and losers in digital ad spend? Google out of digital ad spend, but we're going to get Roku. We're going to get a lot of firms that rely on digital advertising. So, I think what we're seeing here is a major switch from linear TV. Now you hear things that ESPN may go online, more streaming. It's a crazy time to be in that market, but digital advertising is going to be the theme here, I think, for the rest of the week, and the Fed and core PCE year over year on Friday.
There's so much action, man. You laid it out well, and we get a decision at 2 o'clock, and it's pretty historic when you put it in perspective, man. This is a hiking cycle. You talk about aggressive over a period of time. We haven't seen anything like it in some time, and this might be the last hike in that cycle. So, yeah, you could see some shifts coming down the line. You laid it out well. With that in mind, you named a lot of great names, man. I was jumping through the charts. Pretty interesting. It's just Snapchat, quite the pullback, man. I was pulling up Roku as you were going through there. We got Meta with their numbers. But what are you guys talking about at 12 o'clock coming up today, Kevin?
We've got Meta platforms. Then we've got, like, Folio doing a look at Chipotle. And then finally, that will trade in the final names, all with earnings today out after the bell.
Kevin, I appreciate it. The mornings don't get much busier than this one, man, with a plethora of earnings. It's Fed Day. We appreciate it as always. We'll be watching at 12 o'clock today, and I look forward to talking to you tomorrow, man. You too. Kevin, folks, check it out. It doesn't get much better than Fed Day, right? Check out Fast Market. They're going to lay you out 3 trades. It's an earnings bonanza this week. 165 companies, I think, in the S&P reporting this week. And then the next week is the biggest one, and that's the mainstay. We got Amazon in there next week, Apple in there next week, I believe, along with many other S&P companies. But this is second, and we got Fed Day, man. And, yeah, I mean, you take a look at yields, right? And that's why you got to think that we are at a historic point, folks. Okay, this is potentially, and this is you could have made the case that 2 meetings ago, right, that was a historic event as well, because they paused, right? They paused. Boy, there is a lot of talk, and Kevin laid it out well, man. You start seeing those core CPI numbers running down, okay? You get into a 3 handle, oh, man, Powell's really going to be enjoying that morning coffee. We start getting 3 handles for core numbers on a CPI basis. What will be interesting is what happens if crude starts edging a bit higher when we start getting the core to be friendly. The Fed's not going to be as worried if we get crude up to 90 or 100 bucks, because they can't influence the price of crude with their interest rate policies as quickly as they can, something like the economy. But we are seeing rising prices. Okay, you're seeing prices right now. Put it in context. We're at $80. for the better part of since November 14th, we have been below where we're trading at right now. Okay, so crude is going to start to be an accelerant of inflation, but that is going to be the headline number, not the core number. We start seeing 4.2. We start seeing a 3-handle in core, man. Yeah, pay attention to those yield curves because we are going to see some shifts, folks, okay? I mean, just for some context here, okay? This is where we're sitting on a price basis on the 10-year at 111.29. You only got as low as 108. We're basically at the lows, which illustrates that we are at the high price, at high yield. You were at 140 when this thing was getting nothing, okay? That's just going back 5 years. You bring it back as far as you can go. You got to go back to basically the depths of 2006, 2007, 2008. Everything above there illustrates what? Higher price and lower yield. If this is the end of the cycle, okay? Now, this is the 10-year, which already has factored in some of the pullback here, right? But still, you see where we are on this chart. And, boy, you take a look at the 2-year. You better believe that we are at some lows, man, illustrated by a 5.5% nearing Fed rate. And, yeah, that may change as well. Stay tuned, folks. We're coming back on the open. Lots to talk about. Teddy coming up at 40 past. We got one more segment before him. We'll talk about some of the other.
Attention traders. Larry Pesavento, the renowned trading mastermind, is holding an exclusive live trading event on Wednesday, August 2nd. From 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Time, transform your trading skills with the real-time wisdom of a Wall Street veteran. Just $295 gets you a front row seat to this power-packed session, plus a month free of Larry's sought-after newsletter, Fibonacci 24/7, a $97 value. Elevate your strategies, decode the markets, and achieve your financial goals. Remember, this event will be archived for all attendees, and Larry only does a few of these a year. Don't miss this opportunity. Sign up today at TFNN.com. Secure your future and start trading smarter. TFNN, educating investors.
Building wealth trading in the stock market seems impossible to most people. They think it's too volatile and risky. Most people aren't going to take the time to educate themselves on how to do it right. But you're not most people, are you? At TFNN, you'll get the guidance you need to refine your strategies and techniques to invest like a pro. Because you'll be a pro. All TFNN subscriptions, books, software, and courses are available at TFNN.com. And I'm even going to tell you how to get them for less. Use TFNN's Tiger Dollars and you'll get up to a 20% bonus on your purchase. And once you apply them to your account, Tiger Dollars are automatically used for all future or recurring charges. Tiger Dollars also never expire, are fully transferable, and are a great way to add savings to your newsletters or services. Become the investor you were born to be at TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors. Sharpening your skills as an investor is like getting better at playing a musical instrument. You have to practice, sure, but you also need excellent instruction from experts. At TFNN, you'll get advice and guidance from the authority in technical market analysis. And it's not just dry, tedious text either. TFNN airs live financial content streamed live on TFNN.com and TFNN's YouTube channel with Tiger TV, live every market day from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern. For free. Each host is an experienced trader and gives their take on the market while taking calls and questions live from around the world. From the moment the market opens until the closing bell sounds, Tiger TV has 8 different shows with expert hosts to help you make the right moves with your money. Watch online at TFNN.com or on TFNN's YouTube channel and become the investor you were born to be. TFNN, educating investors.
Don't forget, you can listen to TFNN live on your mobile device 24 hours per day. Go to TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV. That's TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV.
Welcome back, folks. We got markets open. You look at an S&P futures negative by about 9. Markets barely in the red across the board. NASDAQ 100, you're off by 0.25%. Dow off by 108. I got a long-term chart of the S&P up here. Just interesting. If you've never seen me pull this up before, you cherry pick basically as far as my chart goes back on the Thinkorswim platform. We're talking about 1983, 40 years ago, 40 years. You take the high of where we were in 2000, okay? And it's absolutely remarkable that you came into COVID basically touching that high. Now, could you imagine saying in 2009 at 653, when you would have had this trend line at about 2,200 going up, that you're going to catch up to it within 10 years? You say, no way, man. You catch up to this thing within 10 years, you're going to go from 650 to like 3,000. And then you say, guess what? Then you're going to go above this thing by more than 1,000 points above it over the next 5 years. You say, come on, that's got to be crazy. That means you got to go from 666 to 4,800 over the span of like 15 years. So that's what the market's going to do. And that's what it did, man. Quite the acceleration. Maybe we get a pullback, man. I don't know. Hasn't happened yet. And boy, this market is resilient, and AI is going to be a leg. But as Kevin said, not quite there just yet, right? We're seeing Microsoft with a little bit of a reaction this morning to the downside. They catch a bid on the open, only off 2.4%. Now, for some context here, okay, that basically just brings you to this upper area that you got into in the middle of June on Microsoft shares. This thing's been trading higher from 220. We're trading at 343 right now, even with a slight pullback on their earnings. Interesting that Google, a little bit of a different story. When you take a look at Google longer term, okay, nowhere near their all-time high. So expectations not as high for a company like Google, and they beat. They are up by 6% on their numbers. We'll jump into those. But you jump over, we had Microsoft, Google, Snapchat. Tough numbers for Snapchat, okay? We take a look at a longer term. This thing's in trouble, man. And I'll tell you, I pull up Snapchat occasionally, never quite can jive with whatever's going on in their interface, man. Never quite into whatever they got going on. I feel like I click on things when I get like a thumbnail that I think I'm going to get one story, and before I know it, I'm watching 15 other stories that have nothing to do with the clickbait that got me in there. Maybe I'm just an old man lost in social media, but the chart would dictate that I am not, and everybody else is also lost in social media when it comes to Snapchat, as they are down 20% today. You compare that to a company like Google, right? They are trading higher on their numbers. You jump over to Meta shares, they are higher, okay? So divergences across the board. Snapchat, its own entity for sure. What else we got for earnings this morning? You jump over to Coca-Cola with their numbers. You catch a spike to 63.66. You're backing off a bit. You're actually negative prices for Coca-Cola, off 0.6%. You jump over to Boeing shares on their numbers, up by 4.2%. Yeah, we got so many companies with numbers, man. Let's see, who else I got? Well, let's go over the Coke numbers for a moment first. 78 cents a share versus 72 expected. They bring in almost $12 billion versus 11.75, what they were expecting. Not bad, folks. That is, it looks like decimal points, and I know you know this, but boy, that is $220 million in extra revenue in 90 days that Coca-Cola took in. And percentage-wise, it matters, for sure. Net income, $2.55 billion. I mean, those are some serious margins. I guess when you're selling sugar water or any kind of water, flavored drinks, right? Margins not that bad. Net sales rising 6%. Organic revenue, which strips out the impact of acquisitions, increased 11%. Yeah, good numbers for Coke, but nonetheless, they catch a spike and then they pull back. Coke barely in the red right now, off about 0.6%. When you get the market barely in the red on Fed Day as well. We jump over to Boeing with their numbers. They swing to a loss. They generated $2.6 billion in free cash in the quarter, ahead of what the market was looking for. Gotta love free cash flow, man, especially when you're making planes that cost this type of money. Defense, Space, and Security Unit had a loss of over $500 million, $527 million from a profit a year ago. $2.6 billion free cash flow. They miss on adjusted. Oh, no, there you go. So they slightly less. Yeah, they have a loss of 82 versus 88. They beat on revenue. This company's up about 6% right now. They delivered 136 planes in the second quarter, up from 121 during the same period a year ago, transitioning to higher production of its best-selling MAX aircraft at a pace of 38 jets a month up from 31. Imagine that, man. They're pushing out a jet a day. Wow. And they're going to deliver 400 to 450 planes this year. It's raised the output of the 787 Dreamliner to 4 per month. Yeah, big numbers for Boeing, man. So they're trading up by 6% so far this morning as well. But look at this market, man. Dow catches a bid by over 100 points, man. 35,602. Let's see how UPS is doing. They're down about 1.1% following that deal they had yesterday where they traded lower. I guess the market really thought they were paying for it, right? And you jump over. So talking about Sean O'Brien. So check it out, right? So what happens here? First of all, you got to love it, okay? Youngest person elected as the Teamsters Local Union 25 and was Secretary Treasurer of New England Joint Council 10, okay? Now, he's the president of the Teamsters. The last time UPS negotiated with him, okay, in 2017, the last time UPS was negotiating, he was the lead negotiator for the Teamsters with UPS during that bargaining for a new national contract. He was dismissed from his position by Package Division Director James P. Hoffa after reaching out to Teamster locals and members that had opposed Hoffa's re-election as general president. So what happens is Hoffa goes on to get this deal done in 2018. And what he did is that he used some type of a technicality that allowed it to go through, even though it was facing a tough vote with his constituents, his members of his union. This is Hoffa in 2018. Okay? So what O'Brien does is he runs against him. Okay, in May of 2018, he announced his candidacy to run against President James P. Hoffa of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. Hoffa decides not even to go for re-election, but he endorses somebody. Never before, okay, had somebody become the president who was neither an incumbent or at least was endorsed by the incumbent Teamsters president. He got it done. He assumed the role in March 2022. He had some guarantees of what he would get done for this contract. And he got it done. I know I'm talking up an O'Brien guy from Boston, but come on, man. It's pretty remarkable. He gets it done. And he's out there on the air saying, I'm coming for Amazon next. And let me tell you, folks, okay? Things go both ways, all right? As in, yes, unions can get greedy. I'm going to disclaimer it all because I know how it goes because, unfortunately, it's political these days, okay? Yeah, they can get greedy. They can put a company in a bad place. It's all a negotiation, though. And we look to why these days we have wages that aren't livable, man. Boy, unions are a big part of why people used to be able to work 30 years for a company that was wildly successful and be able to make sure that they were taken care of because they had the bargaining rights collectively. My mom worked for Verizon, folks, and let me tell you, the reason why she was able to retire early is because they were getting rid of the union employees and replacing them with non-union employees. And unfortunately, those employees aren't going to be able to retire early. So, it's a good thing for workers to be able to have livable wages. UPS, I'm sure they're happy. Stay tuned, folks. We're coming back. We're talking markets. We're talking Forex. We're talking commodities with Teddy Kegstad.
You might think that if you want to be successful at trading in the stock market, you're going to need a crystal ball. After all, it's impossible to predict the future, right? Like any endeavor in life, before you decide it's impossible, get some advice from the experts. You might find that it's not so impossible after all. For daily market overviews that give you direction on the key indices, selective stocks, and commodities, subscribe to the Opening Call newsletter at TFNN.com. The Opening Call newsletter is written by Basil Chapman, creator of the trading methodology known as the Chapman Wave. The Chapman Wave up-down sequence gives you an edge in identifying price turns, finding the peaks and valleys in stock prices. Get the Opening Call newsletter by Basil Chapman in your inbox every day. First-time subscribers also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied, let us know, and you'll get a full refund within 30 days of signing up. TFNN.com, educating investors.
The Gold Report. As a precious metal, gold is still king. It continues to hold the most effective safe haven and hedging properties across the global major trading hubs of the London OTC market, the U.S. futures market, and the Shanghai Gold Exchange. The Gold Report. Tom O'Brien publishes his weekly gold report every Monday morning for subscribers, consisting of coverage of the XAU, HUI, GDX, the dollar, bonds, the South African rand, as well as 25 different mining equities with specific buy-sell recommendations. The Gold Report. New subscribers get a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to risk. Subscribe to Tom O'Brien's Gold Report newsletter now at TFNN.com.
Will the S&P 500 continue to climb? For bold trades on U.S. large-cap stocks in either direction, trade SPXL, SPUU, or SPXS. Directions Daily S&P 500 Bull and Bear Leveraged ETFs. Direction Leveraged ETFs. An investor should carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risks, charges, and expenses before investing. A fund's prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction shares. To obtain a fund's prospectus and summary prospectus, call 866-476-7523 or visit directioninvestments.com. A fund's prospectus and summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
This program is brought to you by Vista Gold, traded on the NYSE American and TSX under the symbol VGZ.
Welcome back, folks. Unfortunately, we just have a few issues going on. Teddy's not coming on today. He's coming on next week, though, and he's got some big announcements and things coming down the line. We'll start talking about that next Wednesday. But let's jump around to some of those currencies, commodities, and please, folks, check out the Tiger Forex Report. Teddy does an outstanding job. He puts out an issue every Monday. I always read it every Monday. I was checking it out again during the break, just getting some of the action. He's got some great trends out there. He looks at the currencies. He looks at crude. He looks at notes and bonds, okay, and on Fed Day, right? So important in terms of what's going on, where yields go, where crude goes, etc. Dollar index, 108.18, kind of jives with what we were talking about a bit in terms of yields, because we have quite the pullback going on here, as in this is almost, as in, is it priced in yet, right? That's always what's interesting. On yields, nothing is priced in, right? But how remarkable that yields are right near the highs versus the dollar has traded from 115 to 101. Well, what we talk about with Teddy so often is, man, you got some competition, right? You got the ECB. So our Fed decision is today. You have Lagarde and the ECB coming out tomorrow. They are 99.9% hiking, okay, if not 99.9999% hiking. Where they go from there, a different story, but I think they're at 3.5, or they're going to 3.5 versus we're at almost 5.5. They could go 2 full percentage points. They could go 8 more hikes and just be at where we are, right? So that's part of the reason why you've seen the currencies differ, even though our yields are basically near highs. Comparatively to across the globe, we don't have the advantage we had when we were the only game in town in terms of hiking, going up to a price level of almost 115 on the dollar. And yeah, meanwhile, we're right there. I know, my dad's out there, exactly, saying my grandfather was the president of the Brotherhood of Railroad Signalmen of New England. All aboard the night train. Tommy loves his trains, too. It's in the blood, man. It's in the genes. But yeah, listen, unions, man. You know, you want livable wages, folks. In the days of AI, computer-generated jobs, etc., what he got done at UPS is a big deal, for sure. Average UPS driver, they're making about $40 an hour. That's what you need to be a livable wage these days, folks, all right? You're working for a company that's making $20 billion a year as an integral member of their workforce. You should be making a livable wage, okay? And it goes both ways, as in you can stretch that thing. But yeah, let's talk about it a little bit more in terms of this deal. All right, why not? Because it's a landmark deal, and they're coming after Amazon next, man. So $30 billion over a 5-year span. And what he talks about in here, okay, the bargaining group, He brought in 40 current UPS union workers, okay? They agreed they extracted basically all that they could get from UPS. To secure the deal, O'Brien turned to strategies he had planned from when he was a top negotiator when we talked about in 2018, okay? That was upended when he was fired in September 2017 by Hoffa. Standing up to a Hoffa, man, that ain't easy, all right? When he had been president of the union for almost 2 decades. So imagine, he gets fired because he's going behind the guy's back, number one. And what does he do? He says, I'm going to run against you, man. The 2018 contract, and this is the one that O'Brien was not okay with and that Hoffa got through, created a new category of driver that got paid less and worked weekends. Okay? Now, that was rejected by a majority of the Teamsters, but was ratified anyway after Hoffa used a technicality in union voting rules. Well, nobody likes technicalities, man, right? And so what does he do? He uses that, man. O'Brien tapped into that anger over the deal to successfully campaign for Teamsters president, and he beat out Hoffa's handpicked candidate. As we said, he's the first person to come into that position, not being either the incumbent or endorsed by the incumbent. And since he took over, he's been campaign mode. He vowed to eliminate the new category of lower paid drivers, which he did, and to boost wages for part-timers above $20 an hour, which he did. And they said made $22 billion in 2001 and 22. You have certain workers in here. They pull one worker out there. Now check this out, right? You got a part-time worker in here. He's making $17.85 an hour, okay? He's been working for the company for 8 years. He might be part-time. He's obviously an integral worker. If he's a part-time employee for 8 years, his pay is immediately going to jump to $21 an hour and going to go higher because of that 8-year tenure that he's got. And they go higher than that. And the worker, average driver, I think getting $40 an hour, something like that. And you know, the reason why I stress it as well, folks, is because we're coming into a very interesting phase in terms of AI running things, right? What is Amazon going to be like when you got robots running around the warehouses, you got drones dropping every package off, okay? It's going to be important for employees of those companies to come together to get compensated when companies like UPS are making $20 billion a year, and it goes both ways. But we're seeing it play out. You need livable wages, folks, okay? And it's a good thing that they got livable wages. And, boy, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out because it's a great story, right? That's the other part of this, man. He took on Hoffa, who canned him in 2018, went back to the Teamsters, and got them to vote him in ahead of Hoffa, even though Hoffa picked somebody else, and he got the deal done. It looks like he got a better deal done because they're actually going to vote for it without technicalities. That's a deal that's got legs, man. That you carry that to somebody else, right? In terms of a workforce for an Amazon or something like that, that's a deal. As in, that makes sense. That's a man of the people when he goes to the vote and gets it done. So, man, it's going to be interesting to see that play out. We jump over to Amazon shares. They're off a bit right now. They're getting punished a bit because of Microsoft on the cloud numbers. Microsoft on the cloud numbers. Azure slowing down a bit, but boy, not that much. Amazon, they get almost it all back. You clawing back $2 of that. Let's see how Microsoft's trading right now. They don't get it back just yet. Let's jump back to the futures charts right now. We got the S&P's off by just 6, NASDAQ off by 70, Dow and the Russell in the positive right now. And yeah, let's jump back to, can I find those numbers? Got them pulled up. Come on, can we go quick enough here? Here's Google numbers. Revenue beat from Google search. Remarkable, man. They have not lost their monopoly yet. Alphabet sales, $62 billion in the quarter. Market was looking for $60 billion, okay? Search advertising, $42.6 billion. Market was looking for $42.2, so they beat it there. They go down the line. Net income, $18.37 billion. $1.44 versus $1.32. They were big numbers, man. YouTube ad sales, $7.67 billion versus $7.4, right? Remarkable. The cloud unit brought in a profit of $395 million on sales of $8 billion. Market was looking for a profit of $163. Just huge numbers across the board. For Google shares, they trade higher on those numbers, deservedly so. And yeah, you're up by 6.7% for Google shares this morning. We jump over to Apple. Apple's numbers next week, as we talked about. You jump over to Meta. Meta up 1.5%. They pair some of it. And Snapchat, down about 20% for Snapchat shares. Coca-Cola with their numbers pretty much flat this morning at 62.29 so far. We jump around to some of the other Magnificent Seven. NVIDIA off about 0.7%. We jump over to Tesla shares, basically flat this morning at 265. Jump over to Netflix shares, down about 2%. Disney shares, flat this morning. Warner Brothers Discovery, up about 0.6%. Paramount, we'll get there. Paramount, some of the streamers. All right, we'll talk about it when we got back. Stay tuned, folks. One more segment. We'll be right back.
TFNN has just launched their new trading room, the Tiger's Den. Hosted at Discord, TFNN has been educating traders for more than 20 years with live programming hosted by a variety of professional traders during market hours. And now they are expanding their reach with the Tiger's Den, available to all tigers and tigresses for just $1 for the year. There's no catch or added costs when you join our community of traders. In the Tiger's Den, you can look over the shoulders of Tom O'Brien and the other TFNN hosts while they analyze charts during their live Tiger TV programs, and join an interactive trading community with hundreds of members exchanging ideas. Interact with other tigers and tigresses as they share trading ideas, news analysis, and discuss the market action all trading day, even at night and on the weekends. The Tiger's Den at Discord is accessible on mobile or tablets as well, so it's always at your reach. To sign up today and become a part of this educational community of traders, just visit the front page of TFNN.com.
You might think that if you want to be successful at trading in the stock market, you're going to need a crystal ball. After all, it's impossible to predict the future, right? Like any endeavor in life, before you decide it's impossible, get some advice from the experts. You might find that it's not so impossible after all. For daily market overviews that give you direction on the key indices, selective stocks, and commodities, subscribe to the Opening Call newsletter at TFNN.com. The Opening Call newsletter is written by Basil Chapman, creator of the trading methodology known as the Chapman Wave. The Chapman Wave up-down sequence gives you an edge in identifying price turns, finding the peaks and valleys in stock prices. Get the Opening Call newsletter by Basil Chapman in your inbox every day. First-time subscribers also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied, let us know, and you'll get a full refund within 30 days of signing up. TFNN.com, educating investors.
Everything in the universe is governed by the Fibonacci sequence. This mathematical principle is responsible for everything from the most aesthetically pleasing artwork to patterns in the stock market. To stay on top of stock patterns you can take advantage of, sign up for the Fibonacci 24/7 newsletter at TFNN.com. When you subscribe, you'll get a weekly report from veteran day trader Larry Pesavento on stocks you need to pay attention to. And you can trust Larry's analysis. After all, he's got 45 years experience as a day trader. Larry will also provide daily charts, videos, and data on the key markets that he's tracking. Expect notifications from Larry on market movement you need to act on at any time. First-time subscribers also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied, let us know and you'll get a full refund within 30 days of signing up. Subscribe to the Fibonacci 24/7 newsletter today. TFNN.com, educating investors.
Don't forget, you can listen to TFNN live on your mobile device 24 hours per day. Go to TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV. That's TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV.
Welcome back, folks. We got markets clawing back some of the losses. S&P's just off by 6 points right now, trading at 45.89. Fed decision at 2 p.m. We're probably going to get a hike as we end a potential end of a historic hiking cycle. But a little premature for that. We got 2 months of data before the next meeting, so interesting to see how Chairman Powell will phrase this hike and where they go from here going forward. Some of the stories I wanted to jump to, we'll do a little speed round right here. You talk about some heat, folks. Stay safe out there. This article from the Journal, don't burn yourself on the sidewalks, okay? The streets are getting so hot, they're causing serious burns. Generally a PSA, public service announcement, man. Take this heat seriously, all right? You're in Florida. If you have any health concerns whatsoever, being out in the middle of the day in Florida, let alone if you're out in Arizona, and you're out in Vegas, right? They talk about Vegas here, and one of them, 110-degree Las Vegas heat in June for just a couple minutes. When he got him back inside, left foot felt like it was on fire. Yeah, he had blisters. It's just a different level of heat, man. So stay safe out there. And that one transitions to this one, talking about the water heat. I was reading an article this weekend, real unfortunate, man, in terms of the coral in the waters around South Florida. The temperatures on the water levels, okay, the ocean temperatures, 5 to 7 degrees warmer than usual. And that is having a substantial impact in terms of the life and the coral life that is happening there. And yeah, they're trying to figure out water heats all across as a brutal heat wave in the North Atlantic Ocean and record low ice levels. It's everywhere, man, because the coral around Florida right now, an unfortunate one to say the least. And my last one that I want to talk about, it was a busy hour. We got a lot to talk about, man. We got plenty of earnings, and it's Fed Day. Stay tuned, folks, at 2 o'clock. But yeah, the NCAA's interest in gambling is growing. Its penalties for athletes who gamble are shrinking. I should be able to play online poker in Florida, folks. Can't even gamble on sports or poker somehow. State of freedom. Get DeSantis on the line, man, if you can find any of his staff that's left. But it should. Gambling's everywhere, man. It should. Especially a game like poker where skill can squeak out versus sports gambling. Folks, stay tuned. It's a big day, Fed Day. Stay tuned.